All right, it's time for another e-bike repair series. What we have here today is two Raleigh Sprite IEs, this one and this one, and iZip E3 Peak Plus. All of these came from junk removal place. They hauled it off from one of the properties, and none of these bikes are working. I think I'm going to break this video up into two. I'm going to have first part is just going to be the Raleighs. They're identical, and I think they have identical issues. And then I'll do a separate video on the iZip. If you are interested, we are doing the Raleighs on this one. Stay tuned. Alright, so the only thing I've done so far is wash these bikes off. They were super filthy coming from that place. They were just covered in like inch of dirt. They come around them, you got dirty. So they're a little bit cleaner than they were. Not perfect, but it will do for right now while we're working on them. And I try to plug in the batteries in. The batteries, when you press the power, they do come on and show in one bar. But nothing happens on the bike. And then whenever you try to plug it into the charger, that's the only thing I've done so far, is literally to try to plug it in. So the charger lit up green, and as you plug it in into the battery here, it turns red for like a second, and then it goes back to green. So nothing really happens, and it's identical on both of these bikes. So I guess the first step would be taking these batteries out. That's nice, they came with the keys. So I'm going to take the battery out and throw it up on the bench and see what's going on with it. All right, so that's the first battery. It is it says 48 volts, 8.8 amp hours. Judging by the charger, it says that says 54.6 volts, so that should be a 13S battery. It does have a fuse. Maybe we'll pop that out, but I'm sure fuse is good. We have 12.4 volts on the whole pack, so some of the cells probably pretty low in there. So we're gonna tear it apart and see which ones. Looks like just 4 screws. I'm gonna throw the camera up and see if we can get it tore apart real quick. Alright, so I got the battery pack apart. It took me a little bit to figure out these sides here. They're kind of a pain. I actually ended up breaking off one of these. So like there's a tabs, and then there's these other 2 tabs that would it would slide that up and out. And I didn't know it on the first one, so I was kind of prying on it until I broke that. And once you get the sides off, you have access to these other tabs, like these tabs here. Then you'll have to take those off to get the clamp off. That's after you get the bolts out. But anyways, inside the pack, this says Panasonic. It has the Senyo cells, which is should be the same thing as more or less as Panasonic. They're older cells. And what I did, I opened up where the BMS was, and I pulled the balance cable off. This is not a standard BMS. It has, besides your balance cable, has this ton of other wires coming out and goes through here and then goes to your lock, like where the key goes. So that's interesting. And I've seen that coming out of BMS. and also it has another communication wire that goes to the plug going to the bike. So I'm assuming this battery does some kind of handshake with the bike, and if you were to just plug in any other battery, it probably wouldn't work. Maybe it would, but probably not, because that's what they like to do, so you buy their stuff. But anyways, what I was doing, I was checking the voltage in between each of these pins, which each one of these wires leads to each individual cell group, and I was getting 3.6 volts in between each cell group up until like group 4 or 5. That was 0, and all the rest were 3.6, and this one is a 3.4, which is not as critical. So one of the cell groups died, so somewhere in there you'd have to figure out which one is the fourth and which one died there, so we'll have to figure out which one of these it is. And you could try to replace just one cell group, so however many is there in parallel, probably like 4, I would imagine, probably 4 of these in parallel, or maybe different, but most likely 4. And you'll have to replace that group, and then BMS would then see the voltage on that one group, and then it should start working. But before I do this on this pack, I'm going to actually move this one to the side and tear apart the next one, just to see if it's a similar failure or not, and then we'll figure out the game plan from there. Alright, second pack is apart. I didn't want to bore you with that. It was a lot quicker taking it apart because I kind of knew what I was doing at this time. And similar story with this one, except for 2 cell groups are dead kind of towards the middle. And I'm just looking, it's probably like this one. You see it kind of leaked out, and maybe that one. But there's somewhere right towards the middle of the pack, there's 2 cell groups are dead. So the first pack is probably actually easier to repair. For right now, because this is what my plan is right now. So I was thinking, if I use that pack where it has 1 broken cell group, I could replace it and kind of see if that works, plug it into both bikes to see if they work, and before like I do anything, because it would be probably ideally just to rebuild the whole pack, you know, like redo all these cells. But for right now, I'm thinking I might throw 4 batteries into that one, the cell group, and see if that fires up. So let's do that real quick. Alright, so this is the first pack, and this is the group of cells that is bad. You can tell by this one went bad and dragged the whole group down. So you could kind of see in there, there's a group of 4, 1, 2, there's 3, and then the 4. And looks like the reason I can't separate it, what they're doing, and they're doing their series connection through those 2 tabs. See full focus right here, yep. So you got those 2 tabs, and looks like they're just soldering them in, and then also soldering that balance cable to that, and also the same thing. So what I was gonna do, I'm heating up my soldering iron, see if I can separate those 2, so I have a better access to the back of this group, and then also to the front. I'll do the same thing here. And then try to replace these 4 cells real quick and see how that goes. Alright, so I got this group of cells out. That's the series connection from here to there. It wasn't actually as bad. They are ruined, and I did spot weld real quick a group of cells. They're just old cells I had laying around. They're 18650s, also lithium ions. They're like 2500, and I did look these up. I think it's like 2250 milliamp hour, the capacity on these, so those ones are a little more. But this is just a quick little test anyways. This is temporary. I am actually doing a quick discharge on this cell group. Right now, I am trying to bring him down to about that 3.6 volts. This is what most of the other ones were. These ones were like at 4 volts. So they're more or less in line with all the other ones, so I could charge the whole pack just a little bit. So I'm gonna go down to about, I said, 3.6-ish on this one. Pop it in, solder it in between here, throw these balance cables back on, and I should be able to pop the pack, and then it should charge. So we'll see. I'll update whenever I have this in there. And as far as like spot welding and everything else goes, probably show a little more once we are rebuilding this whole pack, because I am going to end up replacing every single cell if this works and bikes are okay and all that stuff. So let's run this and I'll give you an update. Alright, cell group is in there. It's not a pretty job, but it will do. Got everything soldered in. This one could move out of the way. So I'm gonna flip this thing around now. Be very careful. Don't short anything out. I just wanted to tell you guys, this is like, it's very dangerous to mess around with the lithium batteries. You have to be super careful not to start any fires or anything like that. If you don't know what you're doing, you better not be inside one of these things. It just takes time to learn. So I'm gonna plug in the BMS now. I'll try to show you guys what I'm doing. Try to do it with one hand. Sorry. Alright, so BMS is almost plugged back in. And nope. With my other hand. Sorry guys. Alright, that seems to be plugged in. Alright, good. So now I did want to test and see what kind of voltage we have on the output of this thing. So bring our voltmeter back. So which one was what? I think this was negative. And this here. I should have just probably plugged it in without you guys here. Sitting on 35 volts. Seems a little low. More than we were. Alright, I'm gonna plug it up to the charger and just see what happens. The 35 is kind of low, but let's see. So the charger, I brought it here. It should be still green. Plug it in. It is pretty red. Like it's doing stuff now. Okay, good. Like it's actually charging. Plug these back in and just see what the voltage is. Sometimes those BMSs, they need to be charged a little bit before they can output the right voltage. There's a 3.6 volts per cell, times that by 13, we should be more than 35 volts. Tell you that. Yeah, there we go, 47 right now. 47.8. I put them in backwards. I should have been, but negative 47.8 volts. So yeah, that's outputting the right voltage now. Cool. Actually, I'm gonna let this charge for a little while, so all these cells are topped off a little bit. Then I will throw that in a pack. You see that's blinking right there. Nice. So fully charged is like 54.6 volts. Yeah, 54.6 right here, so that's a 13S pack. Right now we're sitting at 47.9, 48 volts. And that's blinking, so that's cool. I was a little worried sometimes with this BMSs, once one cell dies, one cell group, sometimes they'll will never reset. Like you can rebuild that group and then it will never reset. And with these BMS not being, like standard BMS, and I was a little worried, but I think it'll be okay. Alright, I'll let this charge. I'm gonna monitor the cell groups. Maybe I'll monitor the voltage between all those, just to make sure I'm not overcharging anything. But I think it should be good though. I'll let this charge and we'll put it together. I don't know if I'll film it. Just gonna temporarily place it in there carefully, so everything kind of lines up, so I can throw it inside the bike. And actually, while that's charging, I was gonna kind of show you what else is going on with the bike. So that would plug in right there. Maybe even like I won't put it all together. I'll just kind of pop it in there and then have the battery all opened right there. So I'm not doing a bunch of work. Cool, I'll probably do that. We'll see. Anyways, I was gonna show you other things on the bike that it needs. This one has a chain that's popped off. Actually, on both of those, the chain popped off. I need to reinstall the chain there. And all the buttons are gone. I need to see if I can get one new one of these. And the same thing on this one here. The buttons are all gone. Must be like a common issue, just a bad rubber or something. And then the chain on this one. This one has light scratches right there. Hopefully the motors work. Made sure they weren't in a flood. I live in Florida, so a lot of these bikes got flooded out. So I was like always check like screws and stuff like that. There was like chain will start like have a bunch of rust on it. That's how you know they were in a flood, and really not worth buying. But I don't think these ones were. I reviewed them pretty good. Probably just dead batteries and sitting around too long. But I guess we'll see you soon enough here. And I don't really think it's gonna need too much. Maybe pump up the tires and stuff too. Maybe I'll do that while it's charging. I'll pump up the tires and get the chains on correctly, and I'll give you guys an update. By the way, I was wrong. I thought that wire went to the key, and that actually go into the indicator for the batteries. So. All right, put that battery pack together real quick. Charge it a little bit. She got 3 bars, and everything come on. This thing come alive. You go this way, that way. Man, these buttons are gone. I do need to get new buttons for it. And let's see if I tilt it. Oh yeah. I hear a motor a little bit. I'm gonna take it for a spin real quick. It's kind of dark already, but for just a quick spin just to make sure. But everything seems to be working. Cool, except the buttons are all jacked. But yeah, let me take it for a quick spin and we'll pop it in that one, see if that one turns on. Yeah, this thing is fun. It is. It does work pretty good. Everything is so smooth and quiet. I mean, it doesn't have a ton of power, but I mean, I got a 1,000-watt hub motor bike, but I mean, this is pretty smooth. You can shift through gears and stuff. I've never had actually a mid-drive motor like that. So let's take the battery out of this one and plug it into the other one. Turn this thing off. Oh, it's cool. When I pressed the power button on the battery earlier, it turned on the bike too. So it does have some kind of communication through those wires. I bet you couldn't use the other battery. Maybe you can, but maybe you want to have that on feature or something. But a lot of the times they don't. They want their own battery in there. Anyways, this goes here. I haven't tried this one on, so you guys are coming along. First person, lock that in. See everything off. So like what I did on earlier, I hit the power button here, and it turned on, and then everything turned on right here. Yet that started to come on. Cool. I think I need something to press those. These ones are completely gone. I'm not gonna get something to press these to bump it up, and then I'll take this one for a rip, make sure that this one is good. Oh yeah, and earlier I got all the tires pumped up. I got the chains on. They were kind of stuck in between the motor and the sprocket, and that was kind of a pain. But I got them out and all aired up and everything. Everything seems to be good. And on this one, look at the tires. It's like brand new. I don't know if this is just brand new set of tires or this bike never been ridden before. Like, look, this is still there. Crazy. Anyways, I'm gonna take this one for a spin real quick. Alright, this one works too. Everything is good. It's super smooth also. And yeah, it runs good. So I'm gonna order the cells. I'm gonna look at some of these, see if I can order some of these. And also looks like there's like a plug-in for a throttle or something. I'm gonna look into that. That'd be cool to add a throttle to these. So yeah, that would be nice. Anyways, I'll give you an update once I get everything in. We'll rebuild the batteries and replace those things. I'm still waiting on batteries, but I got some parts coming, and I'm gonna show you what I got. I got this little buttons right here, and let me show you why. So both of these bikes have a broken buttons on there. They're just a rubber piece they used to cover that. On this one, you still got this little plastic pieces, so at least you could press them and actually get some action out of those. On the other bike, the little plastic pieces are completely lost, so you have to have like almost a pan to push the center button in there, so it's real pain. So in order for me to get this replacement piece, because it's not just buttons, this is like a communication display module. It's specific to the controller in this bike, more or less, and replacement is like $200 some because it's like $160 for the thing, and another 40 or 50 bucks to get it programmed for the controller that is here. So that's a little crazy. I mean, I didn't pay. I paid $200 for all three of these bikes here, so that's really not worth it. So my solution is I got these buttons off of the Amazon. They're like $12 or something like that, and they're minus, plus, and then the power, just like you have here, power, plus, or minus. So my plan is to solder these buttons to those buttons in there, just more or less, so I'm not even using the board from this. You can just solder wire to every one of those little buttons in there. We're gonna open it up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. You can't just wire this up, because this is the brain in here, so it does the communication, it does all this crazy stuff. Like it knows the battery, like you could, like it knows when you're charging. It will say charging on here when you have a battery plugged in, so it communicates with your battery and the controller, so you can't just replace them with anything. So that's my plan, is to get that wired in there like this. I might have to replace the cable, we'll see. And I also got this black vinyl right here. And should cover this part up. So once I get everything wired in, I'll probably use like hot glue to make it waterproof, and then put this black vinyl over the top so it looks nice. And I'll probably move it over this way, so none of these buttons are going to be functional. And I will have this right here as nice buttons that then will go inside there, and then hopefully it'll do all the controlling. We'll see how it turns out. That's saving me a ton of money. If that works, and I believe it should. And also, I do have a throttle. So, doing some research on this port too. This is like a boost button connection, not like a regular throttle, but it does have a regular throttle connection. Those boost buttons are also difficult to find. But we're gonna try this throttle just to see what happens. Plug it in and go from there. Alright, just to give you an update, the standard throttle doesn't work. Seems to be a theme with this guy. I got it plugged in, it doesn't do anything. I also try to roll the back wheel so it has some speed. Maybe it does some of these bikes, it doesn't work from zero. It doesn't do anything either, so it has to have like the standard boost button. So I mean, it was worth a try. It was like $10, and I could use it in some other projects. So no, standard throttle doesn't work. So I'm going to unplug this. Need a second hand for that so I don't pull that cable out. And I'll get this off and get it on the bench over there and see if we can get it wired up. Alright, so we're at the bench here, and this is where I got so far. So this thing does not come apart at all. So there's no screws or anything. So this top shell just glued into the bottom one, so you cannot take it apart. But what I was able to do, kind of break this and take all the plastic out, and I was able to break this rubber here, where I'll be able to sneak another cable through there, and I think I'll be able to use my soldering iron and solder to those little pins on here. It's going to be a pain, but that I should be able to make it work. And on the button side here, I took it apart. That was actually a lot easier than the other one. And I got my buttons right over here, see if we'll focus. But on this side of things, so you have 3 buttons also. And it looks like on these buttons, one side of them all come together into the common, as you can probably see it right over here. And there's going to be one wire going out of this plug right here. And then each other side will represent the other 3 wires that would also come out of the plug right here. But it's not identical to how these buttons work, because I used my setting here on the voltmeter, so just to see how it's traced out, and it's not traced out identical. So all these buttons are completely independent. They don't have a common side like these buttons do, which is unfortunate. But basically, you could try it and just, make one side common, but I don't know how everything is on this board here, and that could mess things up inside here, and I don't want to risk it. So you would basically have to do is break the common side and solder just to basically to each individual button. And you would need 6 wires coming off of here, 2 from each button, and going 2 to each button separately. But this cable here only carries 4. So what I have here, I got this Ethernet cable. It's a thin one right here, and this thing carries, I think, like 8 wires or something like that. So that will have plenty of wire. So I'm gonna cut it off. Basically, have my two wires go and then connect through that hole right there. 2. I'll have to take this cable out, try to fish another one through here. It looks like it's glued in. It's turning kind of being a pain in the butt, but I'm gonna get that knocked out, and then I'll give you an update, and we'll test it out and see if it works. All right, this is what I came up with. It was a little painful, but that's what it is. So blue wires up, green wires down. Blue for the sky, green for the grass. That's how I was remembering it. Orange one was for the power button right there. And there was also brown set of wires that I didn't use from the wire itself, so that doesn't matter. And yeah, same thing over here. Green on the bottom, blue on the top right there. Not the prettiest soldering job. See if I can maybe show it a little better. And then the red one is on for the on button. So I'm gonna throw it on to the bike. I'm gonna use both of my hands. I don't want to mess this up because now this is secured. If everything is working, I'll use some hot glue to kind of secure these cables into place so they don't come off or anything like that. But yeah, they are soldered. I'm gonna throw it on the bike real quick and see if it works. Alright, so I got it hooked up. This is the layout I'm thinking. I put buttons right here next to the handlebar, and this is just going to function as a display. I got the battery hooked up to this spike here, so let's see if this works. So I technically, once you press the power button on here, that should turn it on, and I didn't turn it on. Let me see if I turn the battery on over here. Alright. The battery is on. That shows the mode. So if we can go, that's on. So if we press minus, that's plus. Nice. So the power button, let's see. So I don't think the power button is doing anything. I am gonna check. Yeah, I see it already kind of coming off, maybe right there. So I'm gonna check my connections because the power button is not doing anything. So it must be a bad connection. Alright, I'm gonna check my soldering job and see which one maybe a comp came undone or what's going on there. Maybe it didn't solder it good enough. But yeah, at least these 2 are working. So the idea is working. That's super cool. Alright, let me check the power button real quick. Alright, so ended up switching that power wire to the other side over here. That one and top one and the bottom one, they all do the same thing, but I just probably wasn't getting a good connection. It was easier to just kind of resolder it there, and that seems to work. So everything seems to be functioning. I can turn it off, and then I can turn it on. Does its startup sequence there, and then I can go up and down on this, and then I've learned this from all the research that I've been doing on this thing. If you hold these two together, this gives you a power level, and then you can adjust this. Not super intuitive, but I mean it is how it is, and that's it. So that's very cool. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use a bunch of hot glue to kind of keep all those wires in place, because the bike will be rattling, bouncing up and down. I don't want none of these to come loose or anything. And I actually dabbed a little bit of a focus of super glue on the kind of like on this cable here and then here, so it doesn't pull out that easy. And then I'll just secure it a little more with a hot glue. Just I don't want this cable to come out by any reason or anything like that. And once I get the hot glue in there, I'll put that piece of vinyl to cover up the ugliness there, and then I think it should look pretty clean. Probably the easiest, I don't know what would be the easiest way. I thought about it so many different ways of how to do this without buying the whole thing, you know. The easiest probably would be kind of like maybe glue a piece of rubber on there, maybe put something underneath there so you can still press buttons. It would just not be it won't feel as nice, it won't look as good. This is kind of, I think, the nicest way of fixing this problem, but I'll show you the final results when it's all together. Alright, so this is the finished product for the handle. It took some time to do this, but I think everything is working out. So the handle there, could have done a little nicer job on this, but I mean, it's not terrible. So it turns on, goes up and down. This and this you hold, that will do the assist amount. But yeah, everything seems to be working. I put a bunch of hot glue, so we should kind of keep those wires in place from getting rattled loose. We gotta clean the handle. I'm gonna wash this bike real nice once it's get done repairing. And yeah, that's it right here. I gotta do another one of these. I'm not gonna bore you with that, but I'm gonna do another one for the other bike there, and call it a success. Hopefully the other one goes faster since I know what I'm doing. Alright, second one is done, all sealed up. I put some liquid electrical tape right there just so it seals up too. Well, it turned out okay. This is not as pretty as I thought it would be, but buttons and everything, that look good. There, it all turns on and everything. So everything is working. Minus, plus, and this is how the other one turned out right over here. Still waiting on cells to come in. They should be coming in tomorrow, and we'll get the batteries all rebuilt. And new cells are here. So the cells I went with is EVEs. They are 18650s, just like these ones, lithium ion chemistry, but they are 2.55 amp hours, so 2550. So compared to, I think these ones like to get 2200 milliamp hours, because this whole pack states it's 8.8 amp hour. 4 of those in series will give you 2.2 amp hours. So this is going to be an upgrade for this pack. These EVE cells can put out 7.5 amps, so they're more than capable of powering that motor. Yeah, it's gonna be a good upgrade compared to this. So instead of 8.8, it's gonna be 10, a little over 10 amp hours for the pack. So these tests are like even higher than the rated capacity. So that's great. All right, so let's get started. The first thing is kind of strip this pack down, get this wires all taken off right here, and we'll kind of take it apart. I think I'll desolder all of these, take it apart into sections, and then I'll replicate those sections out of these, and then put those together, and I'll move the BMS and all the wires over to the newly assembled pack. So that's kind of the plan, and let's get started. Alright, I'm coming along. I got 2 packs so far, out of 2 sections, I guess, out of 4 sections, so I got 2 more to go. And the one thing I wanted to mention, I've been adding this insulator onto the positive, that's just for the extra to keep the connection nice and safe. And also I've been adding a paper insulator between all the series connections. That's kind of what they've been doing here, and that's coming along nicely. So I got to do 2 more packs. I'm not going to record me doing this, but once I get all these 4 sections built, we'll give you an update, and we'll get it everything put together. Alright, this is what I came up with. All the blocks put together. I used a little bit of double-sided tape right there to kind of put everything so it holds together in one piece. So the next step is to get the wires moved over with the BMS. So I'm going to do that. I took some pictures on my phone of how they were, and once we get everything attached, I'm going to concentrate on this because you really don't want to mess any of this up, short anything out or anything like that. And once all the wires put together, I'll give you an update. Alright, it's actually the next day, and I figured I'll give you guys an update. I did get all the wires hooked back up, and everything is hooked up correctly. I went through and put extra tape behind all these connections so that they don't get shorted out to the cell body. This battery pack design is not the best, so try to keep it as nice as possible and as safe as possible. So added extra insulator between the wire and the cell, and also used some hot glue to kind of and tape to kind of hot glue all the connections in place. Got the BMS hooked back up, and nothing worked. So this BMS is a shot. So I tried a few different things. I tried to pop in this battery out, and then letting it reset, and then unhooking balance cables and hooking everything back up. Nothing worked. I checked the voltages in between each balance cable group, so to make sure everything was hooked up and everything was great. I tried bypassing the sensor, and it wouldn't turn on this BMS. There's not information on this BMS, and there's not a BMS that I could get to replace this one. So that's not good. So my plan is I know this BMS works. This is from the pack that we temporarily fixed that has one bad cell group. So I'm gonna put this BMS onto here for right now, just to get this pack working, and we'll figure out the plan for that pack for the second bike as far as that goes. But for right now, yeah, this BMS is shot. There's no way to reset it. I tried charging it, and it acts like the other one, like you would press this, and then one light lights up, but it will not charge. Like you plug this charger in, and it just stays green. I tried plugging it up to a bike, and it doesn't output anything. So yeah, something is up with this BMS. There is a communication cable that plugs in right here. It goes into right there. And maybe the plugging up to the communication cable, you could reset it with a computer, but obviously none of that is available to me. So yeah, I'm gonna transplant that BMS into here for right now, and see if we can get this one working. I'll give you an update. All right, I got a little bit of a victory here. I got nice red, and we are charging. You can see that blinking right there. So that says it's charging. The light turned red, so it's taking in some power, which is great. So I did replace the BMS. I took out the one that was on this pack, and I wired in the one from the other pack into here, the one we knew that was working. So one of the two things could have happened with this one. This one could have been dead already, and then it just didn't work. And or second one, I used a little bit of a different sequence of hooking this BMS up. On the first one, I hooked up positive, then negative, and then I plugged in the balance cables once everything was good, and that didn't work. I do not know if that's the bad sequence or the bad BMS, but what I did on this one, I hooked up the negative, then I hooked up the balance cables, and then I hooked up the positive, and everything seems to be working. So as far as the sequence, we knew this one was good. That was it. Negative, balance cables, positives. Maybe there's other sequence. Maybe you could do negative, positive, and balance, but this is the way I did this one, and it worked. Doing positive, negative, and then balance didn't work, but it could have been a bad board to begin with. So who knows? Anyways, this pack is it's working. I'm gonna keep it open like this until it's fully charged. I want to check all the connections. I want to make sure that all the cell groups are identical. Everything voltages are good before I package it, put it back in. As far as the second pack goes, I don't think I'm going to redo it, to be honest with you, because I do not like the packaging of this cells. And obviously I didn't do the greatest of a job compared to the factory one, but still, like, you have wires going over the cells, everything's kind of touching or whatever there. I'm gonna secure it and tape it up as good as possible, so nothing, wires don't rub through onto the cells or anything like that. So I'm gonna try to make it as safe as possible, but I don't think I'm gonna rebuild that pack. What I'm gonna do for that one is I think I'm gonna get like a generic Amazon pack, just straight up, or I can build one, or I could just get like a generic one with a casing and then whatever there, and wire it up to the connector. There is a communication cable on these ones here, so there's this communication cable actually hooks up and goes to the controller, and this seems to be communicating like your battery level and all that stuff. But you can power these bikes with from my research without the communication cable. Is just not going to pass through like you charge, like your charge level and all that stuff. But that's fine. The way I'm thinking, setting it up, I think it's all going to work out. So this pack is going to be the factory, and the other one will redo it. And I'll give you an update once that one comes in. We'll show you how I'm going to set that one up. So charge, and I'll give you an update once it's all packaged up and ready to go. All right, first bike is finally done. It's fully charged up. Everything was balanced out and everything else, so everything's full, and it does turn on. Boom. So yeah, everything is working, it's charging. I'm gonna ride it for a few days and just to make sure everything is good. I did move the cup holder over there, actually from that bike from iZip. I put it over here. It's actually just covering up a little scratches right there. There's a ton of scratches right there, but it is fitting because it has like yellow accents and it's kind of fitting for this bike. I took the cup holder that was here off just to make it nice and clean. So I'm gonna ride it. I'm gonna clean it up real good. I use some degreaser on these handles, and yeah, I think this bike will be done. This battery should last. Brand new cells in there. I did try to make it as safe as possible with the design that it has. As far as the other bike, I ordered the battery for it from the Amazon. Actually, it's just a cheap battery, but I'm not doing a quick review on it and stuff. It's gonna mount right over here. And I'm gonna take this whole construction off. Looks like I can just take this top section off and it's just gonna look like a regular, like just regular rack right there. And the battery will be there. It's gonna make it pretty ergonomic, I think, instead of having the battery way up high and then the back, kind of make it lopsided this way. If having it towards the middle and lower, I think that make this bike a little better. Anyways, I'll give you next update when the battery comes in as we're wiring it in, and this should be the end of the project because both these bikes pretty much good to go. Alright, just a quick update. My battery coming. It's the cheapest battery on Amazon that came with the battery charger and the mount and keys and everything else. It has on-off switch right here. It says it's 10.4 amp hours. It's a 13S pack, so it matches this stock battery pretty good. I did a separate test video on it. I tore it apart. I did a capacity test. So if you're interested how that turned out, the video should have already came out because that should be ahead of this one. But check that video out and see how these cheapest Amazon battery did. But I did change my mind a little bit on which bike I was going to use for this battery, because originally I was going to mount it on here and it would just sit right there. But this battery is kind of big and it takes up some of the step through right there. It would took it up and then it just wouldn't be as comfortable getting on and off the bike. So I ended up putting in the mount on here, and that kind of doesn't matter on this bike just because you have the top rail right there, and it wouldn't be in the way or anything like that. And another reason I chose this battery because it has the charge indicator up here, so whenever it's going to sit here you'll be able to see the charge. These bikes do have a charge indicator. As you turn this on, I'll show you. So this top one right here, it's lit up green. That means it's fully charged, and it'll go yellow, and then it'll go red once it's pretty much dead. So it does have it, but not so good. But because we're going to be using a different battery on this one, it's going to lose that ability. It's not going to have the charge indicator up there. It's just going to be blank, but it will work. So this bike, there's a communication between the battery and the controller, but just hooking up positive and negative at the right voltage, 13S pack actually makes it work. So far what I did, I put the mount on. I didn't hook anything up. This is how it came. It has XT60 connector. So it kind of goes right there. I did tear off the cage for the old battery. I took this out right here. So what I'm thinking, I'm gonna cut this cable somewhere down here, right over here, and solder XT60 connector to it, and I can plug in this battery right down there and kind of zip tie this so it doesn't touch anything. This thing's gonna look nice and neat out of the way. One thing though, on this back part, once I took the cage off and all the plastic, it doesn't look very nice. So I'll have to do something about it. I'm thinking maybe if I use like a piece of plywood, cut it out nicely, that would look pretty cool. Or maybe one of those rubber sticky grip pads, and maybe I can do one up front, one on the back like that, cover that up, and then just in black. I think that would look pretty good. Haven't decided yet. Cross that bridge when we get there. But for right now, I'm gonna solder this connector in. I'll show you how I did it. There's I'll show you here. There's a positive and negative. Those are two thick wires. It's only ones I'm going to use. All the rest is just going to get clipped. There's this communication wire, the two, and there's actually this other third set of wires right here, and for this plug I don't know what that does, but all that is going to get clipped, and I'm just going to use a positive negative solder to XT60 down there. Plug that in, zip tie it out of the way so it doesn't touch the chain or anything like that. And I think it's gonna end up looking pretty clean. Actually kind of like almost modernized the look of this bike, because when you already see a battery in the back, you're always like, oh, it's an old school e-bike, and then you know, the newer models here, and then the new models are already in a rail. You don't even see the battery, but yep, well, I'll give you an update once I get that soldered in though. Alrighty, so I got the battery all wired in. So that thing ended up being pretty clean. Going down this way, I zip tied it to the metal there so it doesn't go into the chain. XT60 connector wired in, soldered in there, and all the other wires I didn't end up using, just a negative and a positive. And it does turn on, so you hit that. This is going to be your indicator for the battery charge, and to turn it on, holds that, and then boom, it's on. So very cool. I ended up getting a grip pad, like a self-adhesive grip pad from the Harbor Freight for about like $4 or something like that. Cutting it out, and just to make it look a little better, I cut the heck out of my hand, so that sucks, but that ended up looking pretty good, I think. And the other bike is right here. So we're gonna take these out to the beach. It's super hot out, so we're gonna crank the assist up, cruise them out to the beach, and just to make sure everything is working, and I'll give you guys an update. Alright, that's it guys. The project came to the end. Both bikes ran excellent. This kind of gives you a couple different ways you can fix these old Raleigh's bikes. You can either, you know, swap the battery out completely or rebuild the existing one, but obviously you can't rebuild all of them if the BMS is dead like there was on this bike here. So yeah, appreciate you guys watching. I really enjoy bringing these old bikes back to life. A lot of times you have to use these untraditional ways to get them fixed up, like fixing the buttons and you know, doing different stuff with the batteries versus trying to find the exact replacement. So yeah, I'm glad these bikes are going to be on the road for quite a bit longer and not going to end up in the dumpster. So I hope you guys enjoyed it also, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye bye.